a gentle, sun-kissed afternoon, when the light glowed over the street like melted amber, the little Riverside Avenue bakery brimmed with the comforting smell of rising dough, sweet rolls, and memories waiting to happen. But right at its doorway stood a quiet kind of heartbreak. A weary mother, Arya Volmont, stepped inside, her clothes dusty, her face marked with exhaustion, and her spirit stretched thin. Beside her stood her young daughter, Nora Celeste, her big eyes dulled by hunger yet still carrying a tiny spark of hope. Arya's hands trembled as she tried to gather her voice. She hadn't eaten since the previous day, and Nora's last meal had been a single apple they split in desperation. She wasn't there to purchase a thing. She had only come to ask and maybe even pray for whatever leftovers others tossed aside without a second glance. Before we move forward, tell us in the comments where you're watching from and what time is it right now. And don't forget to like and subscribe to Blackened, Wronged for more heart-touching stories. Let's get started. Inside bakery, every detail felt overwhelming to Arya Volmont. Shelves lined with golden brown loaves, pastries gleaming like tiny treasures, and cakes adorned as if for a grand celebration filled the space. She lowered her eyes, avoiding the polished stares that seemed too intimidating for someone like her. Nora Celeste clutched her mother's hand, her tiny fingers shaking with nerves. With cautious steps, Arya reached the counter, feeling the shiny floor beneath her worn shoes. The staff glanced up, their friendly smiles faltering, unsure of what to expect from the weary mother. Arya's voice trembled as she asked if they had any leftover treats, anything discarded at the end of the day, something to brighten her daughter's day after months without a single sweet. Unbeknownst to her, someone else in the bakery was observing quietly. Rowan Volmont, a tall, sharply dressed entrepreneur, stood back in a muted gray suit, far from his usual executive appearance, watching the scene unfold with interest. He had wandered into bakery, hoping to escape the chaos of the streets and steal a few moments of calm he rarely allowed himself. He thought he'd simply enjoy a warm slice of blueberry pie, but fate had a far heavier gift waiting. As Arya Volmont's voice trembled, confessing her quiet desperation, Rowan Volmont felt something stir deep within him. Many assumed wealth hardened the heart, but for him, sorrow had already done that long ago. He had lost his wife and child in a devastating accident, burying the pieces of his heart behind walls no fortune could breach. Yet here, in the gentle sunlight spilling through the bakery windows, a mother's fragile words nudged open a corner of that long-shut heart. Arya froze, her eyes wide as the staff exchanged uneasy glances. They wanted to help, yet the bakery's rules forbade giving away food before closing time. Her face flushed with embarrassment as the quiet stretched on. She considered stepping away, avoiding the humiliation, pretending she hadn't spoken. But hunger clung tightly to her hope, refusing to let go. Even when hope seemed fragile, Nora Celeste gently tugged at her mother Arya Volmont's sleeve, her gaze lingering on a cake topped with glistening strawberries behind the glass. She didn't ask, it was too daring. Little girls like her learned early which wishes were allowed and which remained out of reach. Rowan Volmont noticed it all, the way Nora quietly stayed close to her mother. The way Arya Volmont struggled to hold herself together, carrying the invisible weight of the world on her shoulders. Rowan Volmont could almost hear the same quiet hope in Nora Celeste's small hands, the silent trust of a child who had seen too little comfort. Something shifted inside him, raw and human, beyond pity or simple generosity. It was understanding, a deep, aching familiarity with hardship. In that instant, he didn't just see a weary mother or a hungry little girl. He saw two hearts forced into darkness by life's relentless cruelty. Arya Volmont stood hesitantly at the entrance of the cozy bakery, feeling almost unworthy of the warmth that wrapped the air around her. What happened next came softly, like morning sunlight spilling through a window. Rowan Volmont stepped forward quietly, neither announcing himself nor flaunting his wealth, moving as if he wanted no eyes on him. He approached the counter and requested the staff to carefully pack the finest cake on display, a fluffy, vanilla sponge layered with berries slathered in cream and topped with vibrant fruits. Then he added 2 hot meals, some fresh pastries, sandwiches, and anything he thought could bring comfort to the tired mother and her little daughter. Nora Celeste watched, eyes wide with curiosity, not understanding why a stranger would order so much. When Rowan gently placed the bag on the counter, he gave a simple nod to the cashier to hand it over, and Arya's heart, braced for judgment, softened instead. His voice remained gentle and composed, offering thanks to the staff and wishing them a pleasant afternoon. As if this gesture of care were nothing unusual, he didn't expect cheers or acknowledgement. He simply stepped back, giving Arya Volmont the space to accept the kindness on her own terms. But when her trembling hands reached for the bag, Nora Celeste's eyes widened in shock, and Arya finally released months of silent struggle in a flood of emotion. Relief, not desire, shone on Nora's face, a glow Rowan Volmont hadn't seen in years. The bakery staff softened at once, their earlier hesitation replaced with quiet remorse. Compassion had quietly entered Riverside Avenue Bakery, wearing the guise of a modestly dressed stranger, and its presence was unmistakable. Rowan began to head toward the door, planning to leave without fuss when Arya called out to him. His voice remained gentle and composed, offering thanks to the staff and wishing them a pleasant afternoon. As if this gesture of care were nothing unusual, he didn't expect cheers or acknowledgement. He simply stepped back, giving Arya Volmont the space to accept the kindness on her own terms. But when her trembling hands reached for the bag, Nora Celeste's eyes widened in shock, and Arya finally released months of silent struggle in a flood of emotion. Relief, not desire, shone on Nora's face, a glow Rowan Volmont hadn't seen in years. The bakery staff softened at once, their earlier hesitation replaced with quiet remorse. Compassion had quietly entered Riverside Avenue Bakery, wearing the guise of a modestly dressed stranger, and its presence was unmistakable. Rowan began to head toward the door, planning to leave without fuss when Arya called out to him. Not with fanfare or dramatics, just a quiet, fragile whisper of thanks that carried more honesty than any speech in the corporate world ever could. Rowan Volmont turned, and for the first time in years, he smiled with a warmth that stirred memories instead of breaking them. He simply told her to take care, no names, no rules, no conditions, just pure humanity. Stepping out into the sunlight, the day felt softer, the breeze gentler. He realized the world still had space for healing, that helping someone else had reignited something inside. Him, he thought, had vanished. Arya Volmont and Nora Celeste sat on a small bench outside Riverside Avenue Bakery, sharing a slice of cake with the quiet joy of people who hadn't been noticed in far too long. Their smiles, though gentle and worn, felt like the first light of a hopeful morning. And Rowan understood that life-changing moments didn't always need grand gestures or fortune. It was a single act of compassion, arriving exactly when it was needed. If this story touched your heart, make sure to like, comment, and share this video, and subscribe to Black and Wronged so we can keep bringing you these true-to-life, moving stories. Before we finish, tell us in the comments, do you believe a small act of kindness can transform someone's entire life? And with that, the story closes on a calm afternoon, where a simple question about a forgotten cake became a spark of hope, healing, and proof that humanity still shines, even in the quietest, most unexpected moments.